Yes, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Footy Classified. Essendon to start off our show tonight, but not before we welcome our star-studded panel. So let's meet them. Damien Barrett is one of the finest journalists in the country, the multi-award-winning Damien Barrett. Welcome to you, Damo.
Good evening, Sam.
The man with all the medals, and Norm Smith, a Brownlow to go with all his flags, Jimmy Bartell. Welcome, James.
Good evening, Sam.
And the man who kicked 926 goals for the Essendon Football Club, the Essendon Lord himself, Matthew Lloyd.
Thanks,
welcome, Lordo. Damo, plenty to get to on the show tonight. Obviously, it's been a big 7 weeks for the game, for the code, for the Sydney Swans. We will get to that in a moment. But first and foremost, the Essendon Football Club finally have their man, a new coach.
Yeah, they did, and they went Essendon, didn't they? Essendon did Essendon. They appointed an Essendon person, albeit not the one that most supporters seem to want, Sam. So Mark McVeigh winning the gig over James Hird, Jamie Graham and Murray Davis.
And it is significant because it felt like, particularly early on, Lordo, that this was set up for a return, wasn't it, for James Hird? It didn't go that way, and then late there seemed to be rumours that maybe Jamie Graham had moved into the lead. Ultimately, they go with Mark, who, it must be said, Lordo, is one of your close friends, and you must be very proud of him tonight and your football club.
Yeah, absolutely ecstatic for him. Yes, disappointed for James as well, who's also a very close friend. But tonight's about Mark McVeigh, and he's been coach for 15 years and 8 years at the Giants and 4 years at the Sydney Swans. And you know, we've had many a chat where he's been driving to training. He lives a fair way from Sydney headquarters, so he's sitting in his car for a couple of hours there, a couple of hours home. So had a long apprenticeship, and he gets this opportunity, which is an amazing chance for him.
I know how, Holly, you have talked of him, Lord, over the journey initially as a teammate, but that wording there of Andrew Welsh in the official club statement, it effectively precluded James Hird from getting the job. And we discussed on this panel that was, in our eyes, or my eyes certainly, would have been best to have done that, I think, before the process started. To have him in the last four and maybe to have even officially come second, and then to have a statement that we just saw there that the work and the CV that Mark McVeigh had is something James Hird didn't have, and that was what got him the job.
So you're critical of the process?
Well, I was critical, and I said this at the outset, Sam, and on this very panel, that I felt the decision that the club had to make was early on James Hird. Is he going to be in the mix, or can we preclude him straight away? Because they've precluded him anyway at the end of it. And they've had a criteria that they've revealed post the whole process that precluded James Hird. They could have done this 12 weeks ago.
I think that's worth unpacking a little bit more. Firstly, though, let's hear from James, who is sitting alongside our own Jimmy Bartell on Footy Furters.
Oh, well, firstly, congratulations to Mark, a great friend of mine, and very proud of him that he's going to be named the coach, and so good on him. From a personal point of view, though, it's very disappointing. I'm disappointed, put my heart and soul into the effort, but obviously fell short, and that's the way it goes.
Has there been a discussion about another role apart from being senior coach?
No, not with me, so I think, it's time to move on to other things.
You make a good journo, by the way, but we'll leave that conversation for another time. He's been pretty raw throughout this whole process. Like, I know he's had his critics, but the one thing he's been is he's honest. He really was disappointed. Do you take him on his word there that he will pursue coaching outside of Essendon now?
I'll take him on his word. And I know his passion is for the rest of Port Melbourne season. Of course, they're into the finals as well. And, with the process, they ended up with 4 pretty good candidates. I think there was a real concern with James Hird being in the process of what type of candidates they'd attract. And knowing Mark McVeigh from my time at the Giants, not like Lloydie who played with Mark McVeigh, a huge amount of respect to what he did at the Giants, and then Jamie Graham and Murray Davis. So they were left with 4 incredible candidates. Probably the one thing, if they could have got a phone call to the other 3 who missed out before it got out into public sphere, but you got to tip your cap. We had no idea until pretty much 24 hours ago who was going to be the next coach of Essendon, so they did a good job as far as that part of the process.
Have you spoken to Mark tonight?
Yes, I rang and congratulated him, yes.
Care to share what you had to say? Or?
No, just that I've known Mark since he was 17 years of age, so just knew him as the young teammate who walked through the doors, and now he coaches the club he loves, so these jobs are hard to get. He understands just how big this job is. He's not naive. He understands that it's not going to be easy with where the club's currently at now. He has to get to work. He's finished with the Sydney Swans as of now, and he's already been in list management today discussing what needs to be done there. So it's a big job ahead.
I know you won't want to make this about you, but whether you like it or not, you are one of the most revered voices at Essendon. Well, the game, really, but particularly at Essendon. The fact that one of your closest friends has been made the coach, does that put you in a difficult position?
What's good about Mark is he understands that I've got a job to do.
and he's got a job to do, and that nothing will ever be personal. That my views on the club, if they're not performing well, I'll make them, and I need to make them for who I work for. And he's been around football long enough to understand that that's going to come if they're not performing. But as I said, it's a big job that they've got ahead, and it's not going to be easy for him. And I think all of us understand on a 2-win season that Mark's got to roll his sleeves up, and there's a lot to be done there.
Behind the scenes and privately, James Hird has made it clear that he was going for the senior job and the senior job only. Is there a way, Lordo, now that when the time settles and the emotions are removed from this, that Mark McVeigh might go to James Hird in a week, a month's time and say, can you be my senior assistant or my senior football boss?
Yeah, well, Mark is the type that no ego with Mark McVeigh. So I know he would love James to be part of his coaching group, but it's just how James feels about that. When you miss out on the top job, James may believe he wants to do that elsewhere. James might think about, I think James has just finished with his business, sold his business as well. So the opportunity is there for James to go into coaching like never before. So who knows where that will be.
And yourself, Lordo, we've asked you a couple of times, both on Sunday Footy Show and this show, what if Mark went to you at some stage of the next month and presented to you a very senior and an appealing job of seniority inside that Essendon operation?
I think Mark knows that I'm unavailable for next year. Yep.
And just on that group that we had up there, that's the big important part now with Mark McVeigh. It's just as important as list management decisions, how he's going to fill out his football department. I think we all...
And you've both been strong on this for months.
Yeah, because you see all new coaches or assistant coaches have come into the senior role, and we can use Craig McRae for an example. It's how you fill out your football department and not only set up the coach to be successful as quick as possible, but also get in there. They've got to build the whole club back up. They're coming off 2 losses, so the appointments in the rest of the football department is just as important as Mark.
That's spot on, Jimmy, and I'm big on them blowing up the soft cap in terms of you can match dollar for dollar, and if that's what they need to do to support him...
And pay the extra tax.
And pay the extra tax.
Yep.
They need to do it. And you might look at me, what do you mean by that? I'm saying, well, the Tassie just landed Nigel Lappin. I don't know who the next best in that space is, but where is the best development coach out there in the land? Go after them, because I don't think they have that.
But wouldn't Essendon fans be quite rightly asking, why can't we spend what everyone else spends and get a good result?
I don't know. Well, it's been so low for so long.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there used to be a slogan, whatever it takes. I think that's where they need to be at now in regards to he's got assistants he needs to try and find, development staff. The list is so young, has performed so badly. They can't afford to have this one go wrong.
Sorry, just to go back, the old school news journo in me. So you think that there's still a chance that James Hird could end up being an assistant to Mark McVeigh?
All I was saying is Mark would love to have James Hird as part of his
still
coaching.
now?
Yes.
Wow.
Why would...
Well, I thought, Damo, that was sort of knocked on the head a couple of weeks ago. I thought that there were talk that they were trying to bring him in as an assistant, maybe if it went to Mark.
That was when James wanted the main gig. I'm a big believer in time can change views and emotion being removed. Now that James has had 24 hours to wrestle with not getting the gig, what's he going to do in this footy space? He could be entering the thoughts, I think, very differently in a few weeks' time.
And he may say, you are kidding. They might ring him and say, you are kidding. There's no way I'm coming after being overlooked for the job. That may be his answer, but I think Mark would be certainly open to it.
And when you've got a young list, which you touched on, Lloydie, you need experienced players around them, of course, and which senior players you want to hold on to. Sam, is there a world now with the new coach, Mark McVeigh, retaining Zach Merritt?
No, I think Zach's played his last game for the Essendon Footy Club. I did read with great interest just before we came on air, Jay Clark and the Herald Sun reporting that Zach Merritt essentially would have stayed if it was James Hird. I mean, I find that extraordinary that he would have completely blown up the last part of his career to stay at a football club that he's openly said he doesn't want to be at anymore, just because James was going to be coach. But I take Jay and I take Zach at their word if that was the case. But
yeah, I'm with you, Sam. I think now they don't need any more of that, the club.
No.
Anyone...
But they didn't 12 months ago, in fairness, Lloyd.
And I was always...
It was a line in the sand that didn't mean anything.
Yes. Yep, I was big on that. If you don't, anyone who doesn't want to be there, you're best just tell them to go now, and that's what marks some strong decisions.
So when he has the exit meeting with Zach as early as tomorrow, or if not tomorrow, Wednesday, you expect him to say, Zach, if you want out, we'll trade you.
If Zach's got any doubt whatsoever, you say thank you for your time, and we'll get the best trade for you. Likewise, Ridley and anyone else who wants to leave.
Zach will go to Hawthorn, and they're going to get a lot less than they would have 12 months ago.
And then the team that Essendon ultimately lost to yesterday, Port Adelaide, today officially made it public that Zach Butters, their great player, is going to leave. And then on club website, in club logo, with club paraphernalia all around, Zach Butters announces he's off.
Yeah, I've made a decision to head home. It's obviously been one that I've wrestled with for a while now, and it's been quite tough to get to the bottom of it. And it's been a tough decision in my life, and one that I haven't taken lightly. Although I've loved my time in Adelaide and everything the city's given to me and the football club's given to me, I feel like I'm probably at a stage in my life where I'd like to get back around some family and friends and enjoy some more time with them and cherish their moments with them.
So it's all very lovey-dovey that he's leaving, and they're going to give him his best blessings to leave. But they've got to crunch a deal, don't they? And the Geelong Footy Club is going to be the one that is still first and foremost, alongside the Western Bulldogs, potentially Richmond as well. There's reports today from Cal Toomey saying Collingwood is out.
Yep.
So you narrow it down to that space, but it's not going to stay lovey-dovey, I would imagine, because they're going to match the bid and want to get as best they can.
Yeah, and I think one of the things holding it up is that Zach actually wants to go to Geelong and have a look at the facilities. And I wouldn't be surprised, knowing how Geelong work, if it's Zach Butters one day and Toby Green the next day, and they just get them both in and have a look around and try to tick that off.
And will Geelong have to lose a big name to land Zach Butters, you think?
Not necessarily from a cash perspective. Like, we're going to have Stengel's money going off. I think they've redone Cameron's deal. Yep. Dangerfield will be on a lot less.
I think it's a cash issue. It's the draft currency.
I think
that's the question, Sam. And you work in that space more than any of us.
I think Damo's on the money. Like, I think it'll be how do they arrange a trade? Yep. And so whether it's a big name that, I mean, Port Adelaide need another key back to play with Aaliyah, you'd think. So whether they go after a Sam De Koning or something like that to try to make it juicy enough, because that's going to be Port Adelaide's biggest issue, I would think.
Yeah.
And we've got another couple of players as we head closer toward trade. Ben King, announcing officially. We've got Stringer, who you said on this desk, was it a couple of weeks ago, that Collingwood may have interest in. He's played his last game for the Giants and a really good one. We still think Collingwood's in some sort of frame of mind for him?
Not as sure about that as I was, as in that being a possibility. I think they may miss out on both Butters and Stringer potentially.
Okay.
So, yeah. Sam, the fresh headlines continue to emerge from the Sydney Swans issue of last Monday morning at the Pullman Hotel, and there's legal action emerging on several fronts now. The three women involved have all had police conversations and subsequent interviews around it. We know that civilly, the two of the three women at least, now actually three women are now also taking matters in this hand. None of this gets wrapped up quickly from either a civil or criminal perspective.
No, that's right. And, there were reports in The Age this morning that there were, multiple allegations, not just one, that were being made before we went to air, about an hour before we went to air tonight. I think it was Anthony Dowsley in the Herald Sun going into even more detail about potentially even more allegations. So you're right, Damo. We've now got potentially three victims making allegations. It could be more than one of those five Sydney players that is being investigated by police for criminal action. And then we have to wait for that to play out. Victoria Police detectives on Thursday flew to Sydney to conduct more inquiries. Some Sydney staff were spoken to by police, including some coaching staff and football staff. So, without making this drag out as far as our conversation on it, the long and short of it is we wait until Victoria Police deem whether they have enough evidence to lay charges or not. And then we've actually heard, which is quite rare publicly, from the two law firms representing the three alleged victims, that they could then press civil charges, which could make it play out even longer. So I guess the reason I'm saying that, Damo, is because I know everyone wants to have football discussions about what it means for the five players. Will they be at Sydney next year? But there's a lot of water to go under the bridge.
Yeah, none of that timeline you've just outlined marries up with the football timeline.
That's right.
Of matches being played as recently as yesterday. Now they've got a week's break before they have a qualifying final. Then you've got the trade period and the highly likely scenario that one, if not all five, are going to seek or be asked to look for new football clubs. And you've had Graham Wright already, the Carlton Chief Executive Officer, and Andrew McQualter, the coach of West Coast Eagles, being asked respectively about potential interest, respectively, in Nick Blakey and Chad Warner.
This is a non-football issue at the moment, and it's something we take really seriously, but we won't be making any inquiries about players at the moment.
I think it's totally inappropriate to speak about that at this point in time. We don't know. No one knows at the moment. the whole situation. So probably not going to go there at the moment.
So you see the ramifications, they'll just keep coming, and things that they didn't even think about will just keep coming. As time goes on, people get angry, get resentful towards the club. So as good as yesterday was against North Melbourne, I find it hard to see how they win another game from here. It's too hard to win finals and against the pointy end of things with everything going right. So I find it hard to see how they win.
Would it have been... I'm not disagreeing with you, by the way, but would it have been hard to win on the weekend? Like, we saw the tears from so many afterwards. But are you saying it's too hard to play on that emotion for multiple weeks?
Adrenaline, everything they've gone on for a couple of days, but now another week sets in, the distractions, everything they're going through. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and the finger pointing will continue. And it was interesting to hear Josh Franku, an assistant coach under John Longmire, was pretty strong with his comments over the weekend.
Well, if former Sydney Swans coach John Longmire was still at the helm, I'm confident this saga wouldn't have unfolded. Having worked with Longmire for 4 years as an assistant coach, I know how seriously he took standards, preparation and accountability around that. And he knew his responsibility to uphold the Bloods culture the club has worked so hard to foster. With finals only 2 weeks away, I simply cannot see Longmire entertaining the idea of players going out on a Sunday night with alcohol involved and no curfew or clear boundaries. For me, this isn't just about one night out, it's about the culture and leadership that allows it to happen.
Yeah, and there'd be so much hurt because their fans embrace the Bloods culture. You hear every Sydney Swans fan talk about the Bloods culture, and former players, coaches, current players, coaches. We saw the AFLW speak. Anyone involved with the Swans, and they're all hurting because that's something that they held up. Look at us, we're the Sydney Swans, and everything that means to them, and that's taken a massive hit. So then, when you saw the scenes over the weekend. The emotional toll that it's taken on everyone. I know we're focusing on a couple of their senior players there, of course, in Mills and then Goulden, but that would be felt across the board. So it was really good to see the Swan supporters, wrap their arms around it all, and they're trying to find a way forward.
So Heaney is the number 1 ranked player in the comp, Chad Warner's the 8th ranked player in the comp, and Blakey's the 23rd ranked player in the comp. So look at the names there around. So,
he's quite literally the best player in the competition right now in 2026 rankings.
Yep. And 2 of the top 8, and 23 of the, 3 of the top 23. So you just don't recover from that.
Okay, Carlton have certainly recovered from a 1-8 loss as we move on, because that's where they were in the first 2 months of the season. They are now incredibly, Jimmy Bartell, into a final, albeit a wild card. I think we've still decided that wild card is a final. It's one of the most incredible stories that we can think of in the last few years. The question that everyone's been asking is when is the bubble going to burst?
Yeah,
it hasn't.
No, I don't think it is. And I heard Lloydie a couple of weeks ago talk about the brand of football that they're playing, and it's sustainable. It's both sides of the ball. We know they can play contest and clearance, and you listen to their coach as well, Josh Fraser, talk about it's very much process-driven.
Nothing too different from Bosky. Josh has just come in with a different mindset sort of thing, but the last couple of games leading into the wild card, it's been good. We stayed with the process and the structures.
Maybe in the past it's been outcome-based, maybe. I'm speculating a little bit because I haven't really lived it. But we've got a method right now that is working for us, and I think if we stray too far away from that, then there's some danger attached to it as well. As we keep building this brand and this identity, I still believe that we've got to attach ourselves to a process more than an outcome.
I think what he's done, Sam, is poor football clubs, when they win, they're up here going crazy, and Carlton have done that. And when you lose, they're ripping up memberships, microwaving memberships, all that sort of thing. And that's what he's done, is he's taken all that out. So you keep doing what I'm asking you to do, and the rest will take care of itself. And that's what they've removed at Carlton.
More on the Carlton Footy Club from Jimmy and Lauder at the Plasma next segment. It won't be missed, and you don't want to miss it. Let's talk about the Dockers just quickly. The obvious question, Damo, is going to be whether we're concerned going into September. They're losing 2 of their last 3. Get your thoughts on that after we hear from their coach, who was asked about that very thing post-game against the Blues.
Thought we got out of it pretty well in terms of what we wanted to do with minimising risk and game time. And back in my mind, I understand that we've got 4 players that are in our best 23 to come back into the side. Today was clearly our biggest loss. Players should take a lot of belief in that our footy stacks up, and they've been able to show that more often than they haven't this year.
Yeah, so 2 losses out of their last 3 matches of the year, but they've managed players within the last month of the season. This is just the specifics of the Carlton game. There are similar numbers and percentage of game time for key players in weeks leading into that last game. So I get where the Dockers are at. They're the players that have missed in the past few weeks, and they're going to get pretty much all of them back. I mean, Alex Pearce and Hayden Young played on the weekend, so they're going to get those guys back. They've got the significant rest into the players that did actually weather the storm in the past 3 weeks, and with a week off for all of them, they're going to be right to go.
Can you turn it off and on like that, though, that easily?
I think that they're not that far ahead of the competition, so it's not as if they're a mile ahead of the competition. So you've got to be on, but I just think when you're that far on top, I'm like Dame. I think they'll be fine in the first final, and they'll be into a prelim after that, so it sets them up beautifully.
Strong start on Footy Classified, and there is plenty more still to come. The man to my left and the man to my right on the wildcard at the Plasma. It comes under a final spotlight as wildcard week kicks off. And then where to now for the Saints in North Melbourne after the curtain fell on their seasons from hell? And the Pendlebury problem. Should players ever have the final say on when to call time on their careers? That and a whole lot more coming up next on Footy Classified.
Bulldogs and the Magpies to go. They needed one to stick. Jones, once he won the footy, they weren't going to stop him. Suddenly Schultz is going to leap up for the little man.
Norton missed one earlier, nails this one, big time goal. On 50, hands it up to Anderson, heads toward goal, he loves it.
Norton, can't mark, it's Lewis. That might be enough. It's high, it's markable. Selwood.
What a grab.
Relief. They see off the Collingwood challenge. Time to get going for Melbourne and Carlton.
Jagger Smith, the gun recruit, gets his first.
What a quarter from Carlton. Total domination into getting it forward. What a time. Cross. Matt Carroll to steady those Carlton nerves around the MCG. Fritsch. It's coming. It's got there. Langford. Go Harvey. D's in front. Pickett. Standing start. Outstanding finish. From 43 points down, this is extraordinary. But it's glory for Max and glory for Melbourne.
Yes, welcome back to Footy Classified, reliving 2 great matches, and now we get to go again. History to be made on the weekend. Friday night, the Bulldogs and the Pies. Saturday night, the Blues and the Demons. The 2 first ever AFL wildcard matches. Let's bring in our 2 greats, Jimmy and Lloydie, who turn on the final spotlight.
Thanks, Sam. And we're going to start with the Western Bulldogs and Collingwood, and where we believe the game will be won and lost. Collingwood's pressure, that's what makes them who they are, their DNA. And we saw this 2 weeks ago against Hawthorn, where they were undermanned, had a heap of kids in the side, Jimmy, and they just got in the face of Hawthorn and jumped them and almost beat them. And that's why I think Craig McRae was waving those arms, because he was so happy with how they executed that.
Yeah, we always talk about Collingwood's system and their process, but it starts actually off their defensive pressure as well, which allows them to get those numbers on the way out. But we see here the Bulldogs, their pressure against the opposition's been elite themselves. So we're going to see the pressure absolutely dialed up to start this game.
But then also the Doggies' ball movement against Melbourne last week was so good. So it's that pressure from Collingwood before versus the ball movement of the Western Bulldogs, which will be a factor. But you're right, Jimmy, the Doggies can do exactly the same thing where their pressure was great against Carlton.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks, what I've really noticed from the Doggies, you call it the 45-metre bubble, and this is where you bring everyone at the contest. What the Dogs thrive in is these ground ball and loose ball gets. It's where the Bont and Richards and all their other midfield types get involved, but it starts off the defensive bubble, and they don't have players sitting back. They're not creating big gaps in their defensive structure, and they're taking out the release. So they're asking the opposition to kick long down the line, and it brings the game into this sort of contest. But Max Gawn here, he can break this bubble open with his ruck work, and we know why he's so dominant. And we love Melbourne playing in high tempo and speed. And if he gets the ball on the outside, you bring Melbourne into that game style they absolutely love. So get the ball on the outside, create some speed and energy in the game, and that's where Melbourne thrive.
And that's why we thought the Dogs did really well. They shut down that long tap from Melbourne. So they've been pretty good the last 2 weeks, the Western Bulldogs, with the way they've played. Their best 2 weeks of the season, in my opinion. And Bailey Dale also returned, who you think's a major impact in this game.
Yeah, he's always so important to the Bulldogs, but even so this year, and a couple of times the opposition have put a lot more time and energy and effort into it, and it's gone a long way for them knocking off the Dogs. You can't allow him to get the 1-2. Let somebody else beat you, because he sets up the play really quick. He shortens the field for the Dogs a lot. You can play on him, a bit like how you touched on our sides play Max Gawn. Don't go hunting the football when the ball's in play. Play closer to him if you win it from there, but don't allow him to get the 1-2s.
What worried me about Collingwood last Friday night, and I know they had a few out, but it was the stoppage game. So Lachie Neale had 16 clearances, Ashcroft had 6, and apart from De Goey, who I thought was exceptional, Nick had a bit of a lesser night. I just think their third and their fourth midfielder worries me compared to the Western Bulldogs. It's an area they'll have to really crank it up. I'm not sure who it is. Ned Long was in there. I thought he was, ran off his legs a little bit by the Brisbane Lions. They tried McCreary. I'm not sure he's the answer either. So that's where I think the Western Bulldogs can potentially get the Pies through the midfield.
And the Pies were stretched down back. We know they've had their injury issues. And, of course, if you lose stoppage and clearance, you put players under pressure down back. Puncher was the one last week.
Yeah, Puncher. He was on Logan Morris and he got exposed really, really badly. So had up to 5+ kicked on him for the night. It was up to 7 potentially, the involvement that he was in. So I would be playing lob forward. Obviously English most likely comes back. Norton forward, lob forward, push English forward just to try and expose young Puncher on the night.
And we turn our attention to the next match and the D's and Blues, and this is going to be an absolute belter. You're loving Carlton's ball movement.
Yeah, I just think that's a sustainable game plan, Jimmy. I just don't see anything lacking right now, and it's often that once Wilson's been awesome off half back. I love what Dean is doing in winning the contest, and they just go. And as I said, they say Chera, all the movement that they're creating is making their skills even better as well. And I just think they're lowering their eyes. So no more is there bombs on any player's head. They're going hard and they're lowering their eyes. So it's just bringing McGovern. McGovern's playing better footy than I've seen before because it's easy. He's bleeding into it much better.
We touched on Max Gawn against the Dogs, but again, we just want to highlight again, look at the big fella. That's actually using his dominance in the ruck game. Of course, the ability to get it outside the bubble here and get their key players out into space. And I talk about tempo. This is the way Melbourne has embraced this year. Let's just keep going extra hard with it. Being able to flip the ball out the back. Ideally, if you're the Blues, you want the game in tight. That plays to Cripps, it plays to Walsh, it plays to Hewitt. So you want to get the ball on the outside as much as possible. You can come back inside when you need to shut down quarters or you're deep in your back line, but any opportunity, if Big Max can get the ball out laterally and sideways, that'll set them up really well.
And Max loves hitting it to Cozzy. So I want to look at when Cozzy's been beaten, what has happened. So here is the graphic. So this is the Melbourne losses and how Cozzy has gone. So we've highlighted where it's at. So 16 v Fremantle. Jordan got him 22 v the Sydney Swans. Peatling got him v Adelaide. 15 disposals. 16 v the Giants. So you can see here what happens when Cozzy doesn't fire. But I'm not sure who Carlton's man is. Who is it? You're going to show clips where they didn't get it quite right, the Western Bulldogs.
Well, whoever goes to him at a stoppage just can't allow to give him the 1 or 2 step. If you're going to cop a loss, you've got to force him into the contest. There's too much of a run up here. Of course, he's starting at the back in the sweeper position and they're giving that up. So you've got to be aware that if he's starting at the back, they're going to replace him. So there's the switch there with Sparrow. So you've got to be arm across, you've got to be sitting goal side, and you've got to be pushing him out of the way.
Not this one.
Not this one.
No.
This one's a shocker here.
Yeah.
You can't give him 2 metres head start. Good luck trying to catch him. So if he starts at the back of the stoppage, he's going on the fly. You've got to push him, work him away. If he beats you going back away and quick kicking.
A Walsh or a Smith can go with him for pace, but a Hewitt, could he do it to negate him?
Well, he needs to negate him. He needs to push him into his teammates. They need to surround. And also at different stages, they can set up almost, I call it a gatekeeper at the back of stoppage and keep an eye on him coming through. But Harrison Petty's got a massive game ahead. He was absolutely dominant. 8 contested marks, of course, with Van Rooyen being out of the game. Jefferson's injury as well. This will be interesting to see who the Blues go. Do you give the job to Wiedering as he's working his way back into match fitness and form and just say, look, just go play on him. Don't worry about getting the ball. He's got the size. We know how good of a defender Wiedering is. Or do you play young Harry Dean to take him on?
And Tom McDonald may be the man who may just have to go forward and support him because of that factor, particularly if Jefferson doesn't get up. But Jimmy, I know it's only a Monday, but you've got a couple of tips for us?
Pies and Blues.
Yes. And I'm going to go the Western Bulldogs and the Blues.
Both tipping the Blues. Damo?
Pies and Blues.
All three of you are tipping Carlton to win the wild card from 10th.
Inform side, you told us.
You, Sam?
You said they could win the flag.
I did. Damien, be honest.
You said Melbourne could.
I said Melbourne could, that's true. I did say that. Lots more coming up on Footy Classified. The water cooler is up next. It's going to be an interesting one when we come back because we're going big on the AFL taking the talk of tanking off the table. Looking forward to that and looking forward to players right after Footy Classified tonight on 9. And it's a good lineup tonight, as it always is. Isaac Quaynor, Will Setterfield and Harry Perryman to join your host, Felix Von Hoff. It's players. It's tonight, right after Footy Classified, here on 9. Welcome back to Footy Classified. Time now for the water cooler. Thanks to the great people at Hyundai doing big things in the biggest game. And tonight, Damo, we are going big on a word that you have mentioned a few times over the last few years, and that's tanking, the T word that no one likes to talk about. And yet, gentlemen, it was difficult to watch the Essendon Port Adelaide game.
Why was it difficult, Sam?
It was difficult because Zach Merritt kicks this goal to put Essendon in front, right? Look at the time, look at the score, 2 minutes left. How pumped are Essendon? And yet, it was in their best interest as a footy club for this to happen. For Georgiades to kick this with 1:20 left, I know they conceded another one late, which didn't really matter.
They're unlucky because Georgiades got one to go through, and I love Georgiades, but he's kicked a lot of points.
He has kicked a lot of points. Now, no one is suggesting that with 2 minutes left, anyone at Essendon wanted to lose the game.
They're doing the opposite. They were trying it, desperate to win.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
But the point remains, the optics are there to suggest that there is no win in it for Essendon to actually win that game. And in fact, Lordo, they are incentivised to lose it. I just can't believe that in 2026, with everything being talked about competition integrity, that we're still allowing this to happen.
What's your solution then?
Well, you know, there's a pretty professional sport over in the US that goes okay, the NBA, that have a really easy solution to this. And that is that if you finish last, you're not guaranteed the number 1 pick. So they take any form of tanking completely out of it by making it a lottery system, and you have a percentage. So here it is in really simple terms. We use the same maths, the same algorithm to work out. So obviously 10 teams make the final. You could have the last 8 picks. And in yesterday's situation, Essendon and Richmond, despite the fact that they finished last and second last, would have the exact same probability, a 1 in 5 chance, of getting the number 1 pick in the lottery system. And so for the last 2 minutes of yesterday, you completely remove any conversation, any scenario whereby a team is incentivised to lose a game late in the year.
But you are saying you didn't detect any improper activity yesterday.
It doesn't matter that we didn't. It doesn't matter. So what happened yesterday if... So Caddy kicked 6, am I right?
Yep.
What happens if Caddy went off late, but he was actually injured? But then we find out a couple of days later, oh, well, he wasn't that badly injured, but we thought it was... People like you and me, Damo, as cynical journalists, would ask questions.
But what I'll ask, you're being the cynic and you're talking about optics, but I only saw a club who wanted to win yesterday. I didn't see anything bar aside trying to win that game and a crowd who wanted to win, players trying to win.
But they lost.
Yeah, but just because they weren't good enough.
I know, but...
Is your point taking that whole discussion off the table before the game starts?
Just take it off the table. Like, when I grew up as a Carlton supporter, there was a game called the Cruiser Cup where it was actually incentivised for 2 clubs going into it. Like, well, whoever loses gets Matthew Cruiser to be the number 1 pick.
Sam, everyone in our games realised that it just has not helped any of them.
It doesn't matter if it hasn't helped them historically. Yeah. We don't... If this goes on for another 10 years and a kid gets picked at number 1 who's Dustin Martin combined with, Joel Selwood combined with Christian Petrarca, and he goes 1 and changes the history of a club, when late in the year they could have won or could have lost, and it depends on that. I cannot believe that we haven't taken this off the table.
So are you saying that it is time to bring in the lottery? Because
100%. It was time 10 years ago.
I just think that creates more problems, Sam. I mean, you just...
How does it create more
You relate
problems?
a scenario there, the equivalent percentage-wise of teams, you would have St Kilda in 11th spot having a chance to get the number 1 pick in the draft.
And that solves another problem. It solves another problem by saying... So like, Richmond had a decision a couple of years ago. Now, they would say that they didn't, but they could have kept Rioli to his contract. They could have kept Bolton to his contract and said, no, you guys are A-grade players. You're staying. But instead, they go, no, we'll lose them. We get really good picks. We go down the bottom. and then we come back up.
That's a different conversation to what you're referring to in a tanking sense.
But what I'm saying is...
That's a list management sense.
Yes, but to your point of, well, what happens if St Kilda, or a 1 in 100 chance, gets the number 1 pick? Well,
it's not 1 in 100. It's 1 in
whatever it is. The very slight chance that the 11th place team
It happened in the
gets
NBA as recently as 3 years ago.
Yeah, but their system means, Damo, that it stops clubs from having the conversation of, oh, well, let's just bottom out because we're guaranteed to get good picks. I don't think any group of supporters, like no Richmond supporters right now, are thinking, geez, I'm glad we went back down. The 3 flags buys you credit, but it doesn't buy you credit for the rest of your life.
You also add the element now of being in the bottom 5 is more important because you get the additional compensation pick now.
Yeah, that's right.
So you've almost got 2 forms of getting to the bottom.
Richmond were meant to have the best draft of all time a few years ago. That's what I'm saying.
And you got Shanahan and Reid playing for other teams.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that you just try and win because that one kid versus the next kid doesn't make that big of a difference.
I think North's proof that you're not going to get yourself better just by loading up on picks.
So just to be clear, I'm the only one in the panel here that thought that the last 2 minutes was uncomfortable.
I wasn't uncomfortable at all.
I'm less uncomfortable about that than I am about the lottery system.
There's only a couple of number 1 draft picks who have played in a premiership for their team.
Yes, but we don't want the next one to change the fortunes of a club. Anyway, it feels like I'm on my own.
I like the discussion.
It's a good discussion.
It's worth having a discussion.
And I've been in your camp maybe 5 years ago, but I don't like the lottery system as a possibility.
The AFL would love it because they love a marketing gimmick. Because it is a marketing gimmick for the NBA.
Imagine the sponsorship you can attach to the lottery system.
2 of those this week, Jimmy, called Wildcats.
You could have Damo live on AFL.com. You could have them wheeling the balls around.
Celebrity people who pick the ball out.
Debated doing that for this conversation today, and it was too difficult, and it wouldn't have made sense. So how are you going?
And it was because Lordy wanted to be the guy that did this for the day and I played a fight with Damo. Anyway, we digress. It's time for a break. That was the water cooler. Thanks to the great people at Hyundai doing big things in the biggest game. More Footy Classified after this.
Isaac Rankin played one of the great games of the season on Saturday night, and I loved how he took Coniglio into a stoppage and just lost him here. So he's just so smart with his movement. Steve Coniglio had to see it through. Look at that. Gets caught ball watching, and Isaac Rankin, the rest is history. Kicked 4 of the great goals you'll see in this game. Jake Stringer, such a smart footballer. Whatever you think of him, have a look at this. One of the taps of the season. Blink and you miss it stuff. He was just such a good player the other night. We're going to show it again. Just absolutely brilliant. Dan Curtin's coming of age, so they're giving him responsibility in the midfield. Just a big player. Angwin couldn't handle him. He's just a monster of a man. Sidestep. Great mover. He's the next year's bolter, I reckon, in terms of the Adelaide Crows and going places. Ollie Hollands, people wonder, why does he go in? Why does he go out? So it's disposals like that, and then he follows up, made the most of it. So bang, coaches love that. So then the next one of the moments of the season, bang, big tackle. So he gets the free kick, and then this is what he does with his free kick as he gets up. So that's the frustration with Ollie Hollands and where he's got to find himself and establish himself in the game of AFL football. Fogarty, this is why the Crows are so good. Him and Tex, their skills. This is his non-preferred. Kicked that 60 metres to the favoured side of Tex on Whitfield. That was brilliant. I love Dane Rampy. I think he's one of the barometers of the Sydney Swans. Just his positioning here on Zurhaar just to get this tackle. That was one. A few minutes later, he does this on Banch. So Banch gets out, just a rundown tackle, inspirational. And Jack Gunston, I don't know why players play 10 metres in front of him. I don't know why players do that. I'd be in on him. I'd be aggressive. I'd be... The old school stuff. I was about to say whack him and all that sort of thing. But I don't know why they stand 10 metres in front of this bloke. He's one of the smartest leaders that leads the game's ever seen. I'd get in behind him. I'd be constant touch on him. I would not let play in front of him. Just silly
Imagine
football.
if people played 10 metres in front of you, Lordo, back in the day.
Yeah, I know. That's
you would have kicked 1,500.
Drive the knee in.
That's why I call him the sledgehammer. Great stuff, Lordy, and great stuff to Eddie and the team who are back tomorrow night for the Tuesday edition of Footy Classified, along with their major partner, Fiji Airways. They're recognising the Fiji Airways Player Performance of the Year, the winning player to get 2 business class return flights with Fiji Airways onto Fiji and then the US, plus 5 nights accommodation in Fiji at the luxurious Nanuku Resort. Fiji Airways, proud partner of Footy Classified and the Performance of the Year. Welcome back to Footy Classified. Good call, bad call. Thanks to the great people at Tab. Jimmy Bartell, when it comes to the mark and goal of the season, 2026 has saved it for the best for last.
This could be, it could be a good call from you, Sam. I think you're referring to the wizard Watson getting up really, really high. Come here, poster boy. He told him at three-quarter time. And, of course, McKenna's soccer off the ground was absolutely exceptional. That is an unbelievable hanger. That'll look good on a poster. That'll challenge Flying Ryan and Paul Curtis, their hangers. And this goal, the smother first, he meant this, outside the foot, lob it up through the goal. He and Bailey Williams, I think, might be the finalists for goal of the year.
Like it.
First game of the year, last game of the year.
Sam, to you, Luke Beveridge won't have to look far for motivation ahead of the Bulldogs' wildcard clash this weekend. Good call, bad call.
This is a good call from you, Damien. This is a I'm well-versed in Luke Beveridge call from you. I like it because Craig McRae basically didn't give the Dogs a chance. You'll hear that. And then you'll hear the chief executive of the AFL responding to Ed Richards' claim that he didn't like wildcard footy.
Carlton beat Freo tomorrow and the Bulldogs lose. I think it'll feel like a final.
I'm not sure the Bulldogs have played many home and away games in front of 90,000 plus, so you might have a different feeling after the game.
Oh, he had a bit of the Matthew Lloyd swagger. He liked it. He liked it. Good call from you, Damo.
Damo, speaking of drive-bys, Ralphie didn't deserve one from Dimmer in the pre-game. Good call, bad call.
Let's take a look at what you're referring to before I get there, Lordo.
Is 80% of your premiership team still the number? Or have you revised that number?
You do realise aspiration is what we're after, Jason.
I get it.
People, sit there. John, who's never made a decision in his life, just gives opinions over there. But the rest of us have actually got to get there and people to actually work and play for us, sort of thing. It's a fair drive-by on John, but anyway.
It's a good call, Lordo. Dimmer didn't want to take on Chief, who asked the question. He's clearly taken the no predators in Chief life outlook.
Lloydie, forget the best young forward in the game. Logan Morris is one of the best forwards in the game, full stop.
Wanted to think about call, Jimmy, that call, whether he's the best forward in the game. We shouldn't say young forward anymore because he's that good. But here is Cam Rayner speaking about just how good Logan Morris is.
His timing's really, really dangerous and his footwork to get to the right spots really good. In his first couple of years playing practice matches against Harris, I think he kicked 5 on Harris in his first year. So I think we knew he was going to be a really good player from that moment on.
I think he's in the best 3, but not quite 1 just yet.
Damo, one for you. The AFL used rubbery crowd figures for a good news story in a tough week. Good call, bad call.
I reckon that's a really jaded, cynical, sort of print journo call from you.
You asked me to ask.
These are numbers that are worthy of being celebrated, Sam. I can't believe you've decided to try and put rain on that.
You brought
that's
that in at
really
9:30 this morning to our meeting.
I hadn't seen it until you thrown it to me. But stop trying to be jaded and cynical.
Here's your chance, Sam. It's important to look after your fellow commentators when they misspeak. Good call, bad call.
Before I answer that call, let's have a listen to the number 1 commentator in the game, Brian Taylor, on the weekend.
Ryan to kick the ball back in for Fremantle. The old campaigner. I think he was there from year 2, was it? Ash, well, when did he start? He would have been young. No, he would have been a lot later than that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, no, Luke Bryan was really, really young, year 2 of Freo, BT. I think we've got the graphic here. Came eventually. Fremantle's second season was 1996. Luke Ryan was actually born in February 1996. So we all get things wrong time to time.
We do. Jimmy, West Coast plans to start 2027 with a bang of already taken a hit. Good call back.
Yeah, I think you might be referring to Harley Reid copping 2 matches for this sling tackle. We still haven't heard yet whether West Coast will try and appeal this, but that's not off to a good start if the 2 weeks is to stand up. It's going to be pretty hard to argue that one. That did look like a sling tackle. So good call from you, Lloydie.
Lordo, the game goes too long and it starts too late. Good call, bad call.
Good call, Dame, on starting too late. So I like the time of the game, but not starting too. But here is a young man in the crowd who agrees with you that it starts too late. Salute his side. They always belt sides down there like Jimmy's teams have for years down in Geelong, but he'd seen enough. Too many goals has put him to sleep.
Sure it wasn't Richmond putting them to sleep? It might have been. The closing cook is up next on Footy Classified.
Some may say I'm very commercial, and I get stirred up for that, for being a commercial animal, but I think I'm a man of the people. And we took our last segment out to the concourse, and here I was, being a man of the people. It was magnificent. But Essendon v Port, it was great, wasn't it, Damo, out there?
It was wonderful out there,
We had so much fun, all the people...
Watching you get celebrated and lauded.
Absolutely loved it, but here is my closing cook. Here's a stinger. So Barrett, no buddy. So we got an exclusive vision of Barrett, no buddy. So there I was, just a man of the people, and the vision caught Damo. Look, There he is, just looking for someone to reach out.
TJ's getting photos. Nobodies. TJ was getting photos too.
TJ, Durham, even Durham. He used to run through our huddles.
It's so unnecessarily nasty.
And I got him a few times.
I think you got me 8 times out of 24 rounds.
But it was just too good.
Barrett, nobodies.
I don't support this at all.
I'm all for it.
We're a team here.
What's either you or me we get each week?
The whole station's a team, including Eddie and the team tomorrow night, 9:45, Footy Classified. It's back. That man Doom will be on the panel. Hurdy will be back. Lots to talk about from an Essendon perspective. Thank you for joining us.